Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
God damn it, Dev. Hey everyone, Koopa Man here. Yeah, I know I said the last one would be the last Culture War video, and I'm just as annoyed as you are. Why am I annoyed? Because it turns out centrists are fucking morons too. What do I mean by this? Well, remember how I made those videos on left-wing extremists and then the potential of right-wing extremists? Well, prepare your butts because today we're talking about centrist extremists, or Centrism TM. How can centrism be extreme, I hear you ask? Well, to help us today, let us look at a few examples. Now, centrism, similar to left-wing and right-wing politics, can be categorized 4 different ways. No, don't ask me to categorize left-wing and right-wing politics. I'm done after this. First, there are people who aren't really all that political and just worry about their day-to-day. These are what are called moderates. Now, the vast majority of centrists, and people in general, are moderates. They don't really care about the goings-on of Congress or the White House or this or that unless it becomes a personal problem for them. They usually vote the same way their parents did, but a lot of the time they don't really vote or engage with the political process at all. They may read a newspaper or watch TV news once in a while, but quickly turn it off when it turns into some political grandstanding of any sort. There's nothing wrong with being a moderate at all, and in an ideal world, we could all be moderates. Second group are the politically aware, but those who think critically about their positions. People sort of like me. We will call this group undecided, but they tend to self-title as center-left or center-right. While these people will be honest about their biases and where they're coming from, they usually are willing to hear both sides of any argument before making a final decision. They're not so extreme that they'll completely dismiss opposing viewpoints like the radicals would, and likewise are usually the first to call out their own side's radicals or extremists. Like moderates, these people are not a problem. So far so good. It seems like centrism isn't all that bad, right? Well, here's the kicker. And to explain the problem with centrists, I need to talk about YouTube drama a little bit, so bear with me. Now the problem begins with the third group, which we'll be calling fucking liars. And I do mean that. There are those who will fake being a moderate or a critical thinker just to appear like the voice of reason, but in actuality, their bias is very obvious and they are very much an extremist of their side. An example of this being Just Some Guy. Now, I directed others before to go watch Almighty Lolly's video on Just Some Guy for the full details, but to save some time, I will summarize. Just Some Guy was a YouTuber who came into prominence during Gamergate, being one of the culture warrior figures who were making videos around that time debunking SJWs and leftists and the like. After a while, though, things began to change, particularly after the 2016 election, where cracks in Just Some Guy's persona of an anti-SJW started to form. He began to make confusing takes, mostly on Twitter at first, about how right-wingers were evil Nazi sexist bigots and that the left wing were largely misunderstood. He began to sound like someone who, during Gamergate, he would have called out and criticized, and would call people like he was during Gamergate largely Nazis. Now, what makes Just Some Guy a fucking liar is because it eventually came out that he was deliberately trying to chase away right-wingers in his own audience so he could start appealing to just leftists now that he saw the BreadTube movement, a movement of leftist YouTubers, making what he believed to be even more money. To make matters worse, he would get into fights with other YouTubers such as Nick Rekieta and offensive things like the We Are Coming for Your Kids chorus and quote family-friendly drag shows. He even began lying to his own audience, ignoring evidence to the contrary to make the points he wanted to make. It all came to a head when news about the anti-grooming bill, no, I'm not calling it by that other name, please shut up, was on the docket in Florida. He made numerous videos about how right-wingers, particularly Christians, were all scum and the KKK, and then would attack his own audience on stream. The result? Near total self-destruction. There's no other way around it. He lost Twitter followers, subscribers, and most of all, his credibility. This is honestly rule number 1 of e-celebrity. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. Since then, Just Some Guy has fallen so deep under the radar to the point where he has to quit his own channel on YouTube and then return again just to be relevant. It's as the good book says. Proverbs 19:9, New International Version. A false witness will not go unpunished, and he who ever pours out lies will perish. Maybe if he listened to the Bible, rather than pretending it was a Klan manual written by Hitler, he would have seen this coming. But this sort of attitude of being a fake moderate isn't exclusive to the left. There are those who will claim to be right-wing centrists, but then use their influence as cultural media figures to push for authoritarianism and suppression and abuse by the hand of the law. We tend to call these figures, at least in America, rhinos. Republicans in name only. Republican being the right-wing party in the United States. Examples of such figures include Fox News, who, while preaching to a right-wing base, will lie and deceive them for the sake of remaining, quote, the opposition media for ratings, and are owned by the same people and read off the same scripts as CNN and MSNBC at the end of the day. There is also the Daily Wire, who promote figures such as Ben Shapiro, who only argues with college students to feel smarter than he actually is, Candace Owens, a famous owner of a splash site and a flip-flopper, and Matt Walsh, a known fun-hating Pharisee. All of them seem to just want to divide the right wing and push away actual right-wingers by branding them, quote, losers or extremists, and make moderates believe that the right is a bunch of bullies and moral busybodies by being the loudest voices claiming to be right or center-right. But that's just the liars, who aren't exactly exclusive to the left, right, or center, and we all are waiting for me to talk about a certain other online figure, aren't we? The last group, who are arguably worse than the liars, are what most call Centrism TM. The both sides are equally bad in the same ways I am so smart types. And to provide an example of this, let me introduce you to Short Fat Otaku. Now, Short Fat Otaku, like just some guy, came into prominence during Gamergate, but he's been around since before then, being a contributor to a website that competed and was outclassed by Channel Awesome. Yes, he's not only a leftover from the Channel Awesome era like many lolcows of today are, but was from one of their copycat leeches that still got BTFO'd by them. If anyone knows how incompetent and degenerate Channel Awesome was, you know how amazing a feat it is. Anyway, like with just some guy, he made a lot of his bones calling out the social justice warriors. He was even within the inner clique of one of the biggest members of the anti-SJW community, Sargon of Akkad, otherwise known as Carl Benjamin. He also started to do streams and roundup videos with another popular figure in the movement, though one that was a bit more of a dark horse, Scrump Monkey, called Dumping with Scrump. It was even Scrump who introduced SFO to Sargon in the first place.
Shame. 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 Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you. Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you. This was serious, but it turned into something fun.
Now, am I saying SFO is a liar just like just some guy? Believe it or not, no. He was much better about being honest about certain things, unlike just some guy. Now, the problem with Short Fat Otaku is, and was, largely that he's from Canada.
Oh, Canada!
And as such, when he talks about things like American politics, he approaches it from a lens that doesn't particularly understand American politics and how they differ from Canadian politics, which he is usually able to cover fairly well. An example of this is how he believes that the Democrats were the ones who ended Jim Crow segregation laws, when in truth is that was largely done by the administration of Dwight Eisenhower and the conservative judges on the Supreme Court, with the Democrat state governments actually being a hindrance to civil rights. Funny how that works, eh, Lost Causers? Not only that, but the Democrats were largely the party of segregation.
I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny, and I say segregation now, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever.
That was George Wallace, a Democrat governor of Alabama who was Democrat till the day he died. Similar is Robert Byrd, the mentor of Bill and Hillary Clinton and former Vice President Joe Biden. Robert Byrd, too, was a Democrat till the day he died, and he was also the Grand Wizard of the KKK at one point. Even the Democrat president who signed the Civil Rights Bill, Lyndon Baines Johnson, was a racist Democrat who only did so because the congressional Republicans would have had it passed anyway, and this way he could include things that would have, as he put it, have the African Americans voting Democrat for the next 200 years, in not so politically polite language. But that's just stuff from history. What about today? Well, nowadays, SFO mostly seems to have adopted the trans activist positions of his new co-host, Lilith Loveth, a trans porn star and activist who is in favor of hormone replacement therapy for children. Now, to be fair to Short Fat Otaku, he is not completely, at least not in the open, in favor of all of the radical trans agenda like Lilith is. However, the way he acts towards his new co-host on the show and on social media like Twitter comes off as a bit stalkerish. This isn't helped when you take into the fact that he's confessed to having a fetish for, chicks with dicks, and how he even called her by the name of his supposed girlfriend at one point. Slip of the tongue or Freudian slip? You decide. He even became noticed by the drama forum Kiwi Farms because of how he kept playing White Knight for Lilith on there. So what happened to Scrump, you may be wondering? Well, after a while, Scrump was taken out of the picture due to some drama behind the scenes, in which SFO publicly spilled a lot of Scrump's dirty laundry. Yeah, the sort of thing an ex-girlfriend would do. After that, quite a few members of his audience started to raise an eyebrow at his actions, myself included. Eventually, he started lashing out at others, such as Aiden Paladin, lying about other people, such as Scrump and Aiden, as well as becoming really petty about things, such as his poorly maintained Minecraft server, which the YouTuber Uzulu got banned from because his friends were messing around with it for fun. And it culminated in attacking his own audience when he took the take that the VTuber Pikami was weak for quitting over trans activists, extremists bullying her. A take which many believed that he took because of his girls with dicks fetish. And if you remember my own reaction to the Pikami drama, you know that puts Short Fat Otaku at the very top of my shit list. Now, all of this must be understood before describing the kind of centrist the Centrist TM is, which is a fucking idiot. You are an idiot! The thing that got Short Fat Otaku to call Pikami weak is when his audience tried to say he was in the wrong in a video he made about the Bud Light boycott, where he called it identically comparable to the Hogwarts Legacy drama. Short version of the Bud Light drama is Bud Light decided to use Dylan Mulvaney, a trans grifter, as one of their spokesmen, after he's been used to promote a lot of far-left nonsense, and the largely right-wing and moderate-right consumer base of Bud Light were well aware of, so they decided to stop buying the beer. Simple as. There were claims of fights and bomb threats within Short Fat Otaku's video, but in my own investigation I found nothing concrete, not even public police records. So why was Short Fat Otaku so insistent? Well, it isn't his fetish, I'm sorry to say, to those who do believe that, but it's because he believes in, quote, balance. Like when me and Tracer debunked Sargon's Star Wars take about balance, Short Fat Otaku believes balance means both sides are equal in every way. This is why he's an idiot. There are examples of right-wing extremism, sure. I have even pointed them out in my own videos, and will in the future, probably, if I have to. But the thing about right-wing extremists is they are largely not equal to the ones on the left. They think different, they operate differently, and they have different cultural impacts. This is mainly because the left wing are collectivist and the right wing are largely individualist, as I pointed out in a previous video. And he is so committed to this idea of balance because of things that causes a lot of his own problems. His pride. Proverbs 16:18, New International Version. Pride goes before destruction, a haughty spirit before a fall. Because Short Fat Otaku believes he is always correct, it causes problems for those around him, as well as for himself. His behavior shows indications for someone with a narcissistic personality disorder, and it is a bit more evident to those who know what to look for, as well as those who are aware of his nature, as his audience has become more and more aware of. It's just a matter of time before Short Fat Otaku becomes the author of his own destruction, similar to how Just Some Guy was. Odds are he's already past the point of no return, even if he did somehow see this video and did actually take it all to heart, which is doubtful. Oh well. At least we can use him as an example to others on how not to be as a content creator, a centrist, or as a person. It has been the Koopa Man. Game on. Is it over now? Yes, Gonzalez, unless someone else does something equally or even more stupid, the political videos are over. Oh, thank the Force. So what will you do now? I don't know. Fun stuff, I guess. Let me guess, more Charlie Brown? We'll see. Oh, good grief.